Hello. It's a pleasure to be here in Denmark by the water. I have to tell you, I saw 5 white people get in that water, and it's really cold outside. We're just different. So before I read from Hunger, I thought I would read a little bit about Mr. Rogers, because I really love him. And when I was in graduate school, I was living in the middle of nowhere. And so I would just have a really active fantasy life, and I would write those fantasies down. And Mr. Rogers is really hot. Mr. Rogers was able to wear cardigans with dignity because he is smooth and debonair in the suburban sense. He teaches important things. I am certain he smells like Brill cream and Old Spice and pot roast. I would make Mr. Rogers a pot roast. I would do that while wearing a smart white apron with a lace hem I tied around my waist and a neat bow. I would even serve Mr. Rogers his delicious pot roast and fresh vegetables, mashed potatoes. I would bake him pie for dessert, apple with a scoop of French vanilla ice cream or a thick slice of cheddar. When he came home from work, I would make him a highball or a martini. I don't really know what a highball is. It's a drink, probably fancy. In my head, it involves whiskey. A highball sounds important, like if you are an important and serious person, you drink highballs. Mr. Rogers would be a good man to come home to, never raising his voice, always talking calmly, treating me nice. When he sat on the bench just inside the front door to change his shoes, I would hold his impeccably shined floor chimes against my chest, carefully undoing the laces. I would massage his feet between my fingers before sliding his favorite soft slippers onto his feet. I would rest my cheek against his knee. He would hold his hand to my head, and we would sit like that quietly together. In our bedroom, there would be 2 twin beds, very close together. Mr. Rogers would want to hold my hand as we fell asleep. Most nights, Mr. Rogers would pat the empty space next to him and say, "Come join me." He'd say, won't you be my neighbor?" And I would laugh at how so very clever he is. Mr. Rogers would never want a queen-sized bed. He'd rather share a smaller bed so we could always feel close and special. He would say there should be no such thing as space where love is concerned, and my mother would disagree. I would lie in that twin bed with Mr. Rogers. He'd wear one of those white t-shirts and a pair of neatly hemmed pajama pants, probably with stripes. He would always wear a white t-shirt beneath his dress shirt because that's what a gentleman does. And in bed at night, his t-shirt would smell like his day. Soap, a little sweat, fresh-cut grass because he always mows the lawn, whiskey and cigarettes because Mr. Rogers is a good man, but he is still a man. I would pat my hand against his cotton-covered chest and feel his warmth and the strength of the muscle there. Mr. Rogers would take very good care of himself. We would make love with the lights off beneath the covers, missionary style, but it would be exactly what I want. Mr. Rogers would be a surprisingly passionate man. He would sweat through the Brill cream and his hair would start to hang long against my face. He would whisper secret things and I would whisper secret things. Every night as we fell asleep, Mr. Rogers would hum, "It's a beautiful day in our neighborhood." And I would think of how nicely his cardigan sweaters looked in the closet next to my dresses. I would say, "Yes, Mr. Rogers, it is." And I would always, always call him Mr. Rogers. Thanks. I'm really excited about the Mr. Rogers movie coming out. I'm going to look at Tom Hanks in a whole new way. So a few years ago, when Bad Feminist came out, just before, my agent asked me, "What do you want to do next? And let's sell a book before Bad Feminist comes out, just in case it flops." And I was like, "Yeah, good idea." And so I thought about it, and the first thing I thought was, well, the last thing I want to write about is fatness. And in that moment, I knew, damn it, I'm going to have to write about fatness. Because I've always found that the things I find the most intimidating end up being the most intellectually satisfying. And so I wrote a book called Hunger about what it means to live in a fat body in a world that is not at all hospitable to fat bodies. And it talks about the connection between weight gain and trauma, because when I was 12 years old, I was gang raped by a group of men. And so this is a book about that, and so I thought I would read 2 very short chapters. The first one is just about how much I hate exercise. My disdain for sports, and now exercise, remains pure and constant. It feels like a waste of my time, moving around, sweating, and hoping something good will rise from that effort. Certainly, there are moments after a workout when I feel refreshed and powerful and healthy, but it is very easy to forget those moments when I need to change into workout clothes and go to the gym or walk or do whatever it takes to move my body. I generally dread exercise, all of it, and then I feel terrible about myself for being lazy, unmotivated, utterly lacking in discipline or self-regard because intellectually I do know exercise is good for me. My hatred of exercise is unfortunate because I'm told that exercise is necessary for the human body. It's a key component of losing weight and good health, blah, blah, blah. I know the math. In the corner of my bedroom sits my recumbent exercise bike. When I'm feeling particularly motivated, I will ride that stupid bike for up to an hour a day. It's a good time to sweat and catch up on reading. I own a few hand weights that I'll flex and curl when I remember to. I have a large inflatable ball upon which I sit to do abdominal exercises, squats and the like. I do not suffer from ignorance where exercise is related. Instead, I suffer from inertia. Over the years, I have joined countless gyms. I have worked with personal trainers, though grudgingly, given that I hate being told what to do. And that hatred multiplies when I am told what to do by someone who is thin and impossibly fit and much younger and usually gorgeous and charging me a significant amount of money on an hourly basis. I have a membership to Planet Fitness, though I have never visited. I donate $19.99 a month to their corporate existence, and the idea that I can walk into a Planet Fitness anywhere in the world should I feel like working out. Like I said, I've worked with personal trainers off and on, recognizing that perhaps the support of a professional might help. These days, my trainer is a young guy born and raised in Indiana named TJ. He is short and compact and has an unbelievable body. His whole life is fitness. He literally glows with youth, health, and the vigorous enthusiasm of having the world as his physical oyster. He is a big advocate of chicken breasts as a source of protein, and mustard as a condiment because mustard is fat-free and very low in calories. Not a session goes by when he doesn't mention some aspect of his diet that makes me so sad for him and his palate. I worry that he doesn't know about butter, spices, or flavor, anything that makes food delicious. TJ never seems to know what to make of me because I do not glow, and I am not young, and I am not cheerful. He runs me through my paces, always offering encouragement. He is not a nightmare trainer out to break my soul. He is genuine and kind and dedicated, and I suppose I am his albatross. I am his project. He's just so cheerful. He's a true believer in the benefits of a healthy lifestyle. He makes it all seem so easy as I pant and sweat and ache. I want to murder this man when we work out. I am generally terrified I will drop dead at any moment, my heart pounding in my chest as I struggle to catch my breath. Sometimes, when he asks me to do something that seems well beyond my body's abilities, I want to scream, "Don't you see that I'm fat?" I once asked this very question, and he said very calmly, "That's why we're here, isn't it?" And so I walked to my nearby water bottle, drank freely, muttering, "Fuck you," under my breath. I curse at him all the time, and he's always like, "Oh, Roxane, don't worry. I leave my feelings at the door when I come to work at 5 a.m. That's what I ran him over with my car. So one of the things I was doing in this book was talking about the relationship between trauma and fatness for some people. And so several years ago, when I was starting to think about what I wanted to do with this book, I decided to conduct a Google search to see if I could find the ringleader of the boys that had assaulted me. And so this is a chapter about that. Some years ago, I looked up this boy from my past, wanted to know what had become of him. He does not have an uncommon name, but his name isn't John Smith, so I had a chance. I looked and looked and looked. It became a minor obsession. Every day I scrolled through the hundreds of hits that came up when I searched his name on Google. I tried combinations of his name in the state where I knew him, but he no longer lives there. I tried to guess what he had become when he grew up. My first two guesses were politician or lawyer, so you can probably guess about the kind of person he is. I found him. He is neither a politician nor a lawyer, but I wasn't far off. People don't change. I wondered if I would recognize him. I shouldn't have. There are some faces you simply cannot forget. He looks exactly the same, exactly. He looks older, but not by much. His hair is darker. I know how long it has been since I last saw him in years, months, and days. It has been more than 20 years, but fewer than 30. I would recognize him anywhere. He wears his hair in the same style he always has, real glossy catalog preppy. He has a wide face. He's an executive at a major company. He has a fancy title. He has the same smug facial expression, that sort of the world is mine cockiness innate to some people like him. Ever since I found him, I Google him every few days or so, like I'm trying to make sure he doesn't go missing again. I need to know where he is. I need to understand at all times the distance between him and me, just in case. I don't know why I'm telling you this, or I do. I Googled him when I wrote this book. I don't know why, or I do. I sat for hours staring at his picture on his webpage, on his company's website. It nauseated me. I could smell him. This is what the future brings. I think about tracking him down the next time I'm in his city. I am there sometimes. If I told my friends what I was doing, they would try to stop me, so I would wait and keep my plans to myself, commit a sin of omission. I'm very good at waiting. I could make the time to find him. He wouldn't recognize me. I was skinny when he knew me and much shorter. I was very small and cute and smart, but not so smart. I am not that girl anymore. I could find him and hide in plain sight. I saw to that. I am not that girl. He wouldn't see me. He would look right through me. I know where he works, his email address, phone number, and fax. I don't have these things written down, but I have them bookmarked, maybe committed to memory. I know what the street outside of his office building looks like because of Google Maps Street View. There are palm trees, and he has a very nice view. This is the future. I don't have anything to say to him, or rather, anything I would say to him, or I do. Maybe I have everything to say to him. I don't know. I wonder where he lives. If I went to his workplace and waited outside the parking lot and followed him home, I could find out where he lives, how he lives. I could see where and how he sleeps at night. I wonder if he's married, if he has children, if he's happy. Is he a good husband and father? I wonder if he keeps in touch with the guys he used to run with. I wonder if they ever talk about the good old days, if they talk about me. I wonder if he could tell me their names because I didn't really know them. I just knew of them, and then I did know them, but never their names. I wonder if he has become a good person. I wonder how he takes his coffee because there's also a Starbucks right across from his office. Google showed me that too. I wonder if he eats red meat and if he still likes to look at Playboy and if he has any hobbies and if he's still mean to fat kids. I was crazy for him. I probably would have done anything if he had only bothered to ask. Do people still like him as much as they used to? What kind of car does he drive? Is he close to his parents? Do they still live in the same house? I have called his office and asked for him. I have done this more than once. Mostly, I hang up immediately. His secretary put me through once after I made up a story about why I needed to speak to him. It was a very good story. When I heard his voice, I dropped the phone. His voice hasn't changed. When I picked up the phone again, he kept saying, "Hello? Hello? Hello?" This went on for a long time. He wouldn't stop saying hello. It was like he knew it was me, like he had been waiting too. And then, after a long time, he stopped saying hello, and we sat there in silence. And I kept waiting for him to hang up, but he didn't, and neither did I. So we just listened to each other, breathing. Thank you.